Hello, friends, family, confidants, followers of See Her Soar. As we round out Women's History Month, I'm not going to say we saved the best for last. I'll let you be the judge of that, but I think arguably so. You are going to have the opportunity to have a conversation today with the Rockstar Mama, Dr. Lee Burge, who I have had the privilege of knowing for quite some time and can also thank her because of her, I'm a college graduate, which is a side note that maybe we'll circle back to. But most importantly, this rock star mama has raised an amazing family and is now taking her talents and sharing them with the world. But nobody's better at telling their story than the woman behind the story. So, Rockstar Mama, the Dr. Lee Burge, tell the community who you are, what you do, and why you do it.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much. That was an amazing introduction. I appreciate it. I am so excited to be here today. One, to get a message out to parents, but secondly, just to spend a few minutes with an old friend. And it's been exciting to be able to have this opportunity. Who am I? So I'm Dr. Lee Burge, and I think, when I do my tagline, I say that I'm a life coach, an educator, a chiropractor, and a mom, but not necessarily in that order. And I think that all of those titles sort of bring in all of the different aspects of my life. I did go to chiropractic school, graduated valedictorian in my class, and started my own practice way back in the 90s, and then had a kid. And on purpose, we started our family and just fell in love and embraced this role of mom, which surprised me. I say about myself that I always intended to have children, but I never really intended to become a mother. And what that definition of mother became for me and how I dove into that. And then, as my kids grew, and started leaving home, because I think that it's going to happen, but until it happens, you're like, wow, that actually happened. They actually grow up and leave. When that started happening, I had a few years to figure out, what am I going to do with the rest of my life? And so that's when this whole life coach, parenting coach thing came up for me as I sort of delved into what I wanted to do. So now what I do is, and I actually went back into chiropractic practice, which is sort of funny. I call it my side hustle because I do it 2 afternoons a week. I see patients, which has been so fun. But really what my focus has been is creating digital products that parents can access online in a time-friendly and budget-conscious way that will help boost their parenting skills. Because I honestly believe that every person who has a kid on purpose really wants to be a good parent. I mean, I think that we all want that, but we don't all have the skills that we need to meet our definition of what good parent is. And so that is really my focus, giving people tools and strategies and frameworks and just skills. And a lot of times all those skills are just tweaks, right? It's you're headed in the right direction. Let's just tweak this a little bit and see what comes of it. So that has really been my focus the last few years, is developing these skills and getting them out there and marketing them so parents know that they're available to them.
I think that's so cool. I thought I knew a lot more about parenting until I became a parent, and then I realized I knew nothing. Which I used to, especially when my kids were really little, I used to wish that there was like that in Saved by the Bell where like Zach Morris would freeze the screen so you could like pause and like call somebody for help.
Yes.
Because it's in real time. It can be so overwhelming, and it's not a weakness. It's just a human thing.
Yes.
And I too, I mean, I've always loved children, but I wasn't sure that I wanted to have children. And I used to joke when I was in college that I was going to get an epidural at 6 months and walk around just in case. And what happened was I ended up being a very organic, had, unmedicated childbirth, and very, like, I would have probably gone even more crunchy if my husband would have been down with it.
I hear you.
And I'm amazed that my children learned how to walk, because especially the first one, because I was afraid to put them down for like the first year. So it's funny how that hits you. That was really interesting what you said, because you just don't know. And I
But
mean, you
you
can
don't
think,
know, you don't know what you don't know. And you know what? I had my kids, this is going to really date me, but my kids were babies before Google and the internet. So, I mean, you literally had to drive to a library and check out a book to, or drive to a bookstore and buy a book in order to figure out, or get some help with parenting. And so we have come so far in the parenting education space where, I mean, literally, we all Google things, right? I mean, all of us, we find a little spot on our skin and we're looking for pictures of, what it could possibly be. But in this parenting space, it's been so amazing because, and I don't consider myself a parenting expert by any means. I know that I didn't go to school to learn how to help people be better parents. I know that. But what I know is what I know. And I consider myself that friend that you call, when you have a question, you Google it, right? And then you find some answers and you're like, oh, information overload. I didn't find exactly what I was looking for. Who can I call and ask this question? And that's how I see myself. That person that you turn to after you Googled it, because you're going to do that anyway, or Bing did, or what. I live in Microsoft Valley, so I should say Bing. But that's how I see myself. I'm the friend who's been there, right? I'm the friend who's walked the path. I'm not the person who professes to have all the answers or be the expert, but I've seen a lot of things in the 25 years I've been raising kids. And, I've had boys and girls. So my sample size is still small. I realize that. But, I've learned some things. I've failed at some things. I've tweaked. I've learned. I've read books and taken classes. And so what I really try to do is just pull it all together for people and hone in on the specific problem that they're struggling with in the parenting world. So.
well, and I think you're just a natural educator. So it makes sense that something that has been such an important part of your life has also been something you now teach on. And I am also glad, just because I love a good chiropractor, I'm glad you are at least side hustling, because it is, I mean, it can be life changing, especially if you have a great one. So rockstarparent.com, that is home to where all the magic lives. And I have had some fun playing on that site. Your home base, if you will, the Google, if you want to say, for some really great, some free resources, some opportunities to learn and grow.
Yes.
Introduce folks to, when as they're hopefully typing into their web browser at the very end of this, if not taking a note of it at this moment, rockstarparent.com, what are they going to find when they get there?
Well, I think, what you said is that hopefully they find a home where they feel like they can gain some valuable resources. And I absolutely give away a ton of stuff. When I decided to start this business, I had never started a business in a digital online age before. And so I, hired a business mentor to help me. And they're like, you give too much away. You want to give too much away. And I'm like, that's it's just how I am. So I'm that mom that parlayed volunteering into a 40-hour-a-week job through PTA and Booster Club and all that stuff. So when you go to my site, you'll find the launching pad for my podcast. So I did season 1 of the Rockstar Parent podcast last fall. There are 20 episodes there, and every episode is about a parenting issue, maybe. And, not so much how to deal with your child in this circumstance, but how to prepare yourself to deal with the circumstance. And so there's that. There's 20 episodes there of that. And then there's also launch pads to 2 different products that I offer for free. And one of them is, it's called My Number One Parenting Secret. And I think it's a 17-minute video about how to talk to your kids. One of my platitudes in the Rockstar Parent is being able to communicate effectively. And, sometimes we all think sometimes my kid's not listening to me, and they can be 3 or they can be 13 or they can be 23. Trust me. And you're still saying to yourself, my kid's not listening to me. And so my video really addresses that particular issue, which I think is a big one with parents. It's really not that they're not listening to you. It's that you're not speaking their language. And so how do we turn this around so you're speaking in a way that they understand and they feel understood? So that's what that video is about. The other thing, which I just rolled out the last few months and I'm so excited about, I am a product of the Stephen Covey age. And I know that's like a name from the past, but one of his 7 habits of highly effective people, and honestly, it's the only one I actually remember, was begin with the end in mind. And so what I've done, and really sort of what if I had to boil the Rockstar Parent down to one thing, it would be this. It would be create a vision statement of what you want your family to look like when your kids are adults. And then reverse engineer that vision to figure out what you need to start doing right now to make that vision a reality. Because, once your kids become adults, and I don't think I ever understood this until I got here. And now I have a 24-year-old, a 22-year-old, and my daughter who will turn 20 in a month. There comes a point in your relationship with your kids where the amount of information you get about them and the degree that you are a part of their life becomes their choice. It's not your choice anymore. And what I realized is that I wanted to be as big a part of my children's life when they become adults as I was when they were growing up. And that is not the case. That doesn't happen for everyone. And why I recognized that is because when I first started coaching, I thought I'm going to coach empty nester women who are going through this transition, because it's a big transition for a woman to have her kids grow up and leave home. And then what? You have all this time and things like that. And I realized that a huge percentage of these women were very unhappy, that as soon as their kids left, their degree of contact with them went to 0. And they were left wondering, why? Where did I go wrong? What did I do? I thought everything was fine, and my kids left home and I don't hear from them. They don't come home for holidays. They switched jobs and they didn't even tell me. All of these things were coming up in these lives of these wonderful women who had devoted the last, 18, 20, 24 years of their lives to raising their kids. And they were left wondering, how did this happen? And so I began to realize that, you need a plan. You need a parenting plan. We're so big on birth plans, right? We're about to have our baby and we have birth plans and we write them down and we have them in triplicate and all that stuff. We don't have a plan for how to raise our families to get us to the point where once the ball's in their court, they choose to still spend time with us. They choose to text us. They choose to keep us in their lives and be an integral part of their lives. They choose when they have a situation like, oh, my car's making a noise. They pick up the phone and call you and say, my car's making this noise. Do you know what it could be? And you're like, well, but, and that's my point. That's the vision. So all that being said, on my website, what I have for parents are digital templates to create a parenting vision board, so that they can put it on their phone as their home screen or their lock screen, or they can put it on their computer as their desktop wallpaper. Create this vision board. And, this concept of vision boards and goal setting, it's been around forever, but let's apply it to the parenting space. So let's sit down and really put some thought into what we want our families to look like, and then figure out a way to get us there. So that is also on my website, the link to get those digital templates.
Man, that's awesome. I'm excited about that. And I love that because I'm a visual learner, I love that you're like, put it on your phone, put it on your desktop so people can be reminded of that. And truly, any success we have in achieving a goal, whether it's attaining a degree or running a marathon, which has never been a goal of mine, but I respect the choice of others, or, whatever, fitness or personal, professional, it's, you have to know where you want to go. And I guess I never really framed that when I was thinking about parenting. And I guess, and that's really important. And so that's exciting. It sounds like, while people are still binge watching stuff, that they definitely need to watch that 17-minute video. It's far better than what is Cobra Kai, which I've spent some time watching, or the Tiger King, some of the real highbrow things that have come out during the pandemic. But we all cope the best we can.
That's right. No judging.
And we all, and we all take self-care differently. Which, speaking of which, as somebody who's raised children and and had a career and constantly evolving in your career, I find that so many of my friends they're unhappy, but they're also unhappy because they forgot about themselves.
Yes.
And they don't practice any self-care. So do you practice self-care? And if so, how and what?
Oh, what a great question. The answer is yes. But here's what I would say when you're talking about this concept of self-care, is that it looks different for everyone. I think that we say self-care and we immediately think mani-pedi and spa day. And, for me personally, that was never something that would have helped me feel like I got myself back, even in these little moments. And I kind of have this funny story. So I had 2 kids and I was pregnant with my third. I was on an airplane and I was traveling by myself. And so I grew up in Tampa, and then we moved to Seattle. So the flights are always, these 6-hour marathons, and then you have little kids on top of it. And so I had a backpack filled with board books and Cheerios and all of these things, right? Because I had a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old and then a belly. And the gentleman that sat down next to me he looked like straight out of a college professor movie. He had the tweed sport coat, right? And the glasses and the gray coming in on the sides, right? And he had one thing with him. He had a book, and it was War and Peace in Russian. And now, I had gone to 9.5 years of college, right? I had had my own chiropractic practice for 3 years before I became a stay-at-home mom. And I just looked at him and I just, I started to say, brown bear, what do you see? And I just thought, I'm not doing enough self-care, because I'm starting to feel really bad about myself that I haven't read a book without pictures in a really long time. And ironically enough, this story, it goes to how we met, because that experience sort of gave me the fuel I needed to apply to be an adjunct professor at a college. And I realized that self-care for me was intellectual stimulation. And I needed to do something in my life that helped me remember who I was. Not that I'm trying to go backwards in time, because I think it's true, we're always evolving, but how do I incorporate the essence of who Lee was before kids into the Lee mom person that I have become? And so that's when I started teaching. And it was amazing on multiple levels, because literally my husband would come home from work, leave the car running in the driveway. He would come in, right? And like dinner may be made, maybe not. And so he took over dinner, bath time, nighttime routine. And I went to college and taught a class for a couple hours, is how it started. And so, and again, that's what it looked like for me, right? That's what self-care looked like. It looks different for everyone, but I think it's so important that the point is, and it's not about go away, I need to lock the door, don't come in. It's not about that. It's about finding those things that brought you joy, that helped you feel grounded, and figuring out where those can incorporate into your life in every phase. And I got to tell you, this empty nester phase, for as much as I dreaded it as a mom, because I was looking at it from the angle that my kids were leaving, it has become one of the most amazing, enlightening phases of my life. Imagine cooking a gourmet dinner for 2 people, and both of them are excited about what's on the plate. Imagine that. Imagine not cooking multiple things and still hearing complaints about it, right? Imagine, watching what you want on TV, not having a video game playing nonstop and hearing shooting, because I had boys who played shooting video games, right? I mean, imagine having your evenings back and being able to just sit and, oh my gosh, do a jigsaw puzzle. How weird that would have felt to me 10 years ago, 5 years ago. And now it's kind of like my life. I have this really amazing, quiet existence where there's a lot of space for doing the things that I had just put on hold for a while because it just wasn't the right time for them. So self-care, in my opinion, is just a huge part of my empty nester life as well. So it's been fun.
I think that's so, I think you stated that beautifully. And I think a lot of times, I think that's one of the reasons why doing the vision board and doing some of that work, because I think sometimes people push that down and forget what it is that lights them up.
Yeah.
And that taking the time to do those types of exercises gives us some of that back. And I think that's really important. And so I think it's a wonderful way, again, even if you need to tell yourself you're doing it for the good of your kids, because a lot of us, there's all this pressure and guilt and whatever. And I say this all the time, but you can't pour from an empty cup. And so, there's nothing wrong with nurturing your mind and role modeling for your kids the kind of complete human you want to be and you want them to be.
And what? I think where the guilt comes in, I think, is that moms, that whole concept of as a mom, right, putting yourself first, that just does not resonate with a mom. It just doesn't. So what I do is I kind of change that around and I say, what can we do so you don't come last? You don't have to be first. I realize your kids, your whatever it is, insert, it comes first for you. And that's the time where this is the case, right? But what do we need to incorporate in your mom life so that you're not last? And sometimes just reframing it that way helps assuage the guilt.
Yeah, no, I think it's good. And also realizing that what works for one person and one household, it's not one size fits all, right? It's like jeans, the pair of jeans that I love, and like there's a type of Levi's that I buy exclusively. They work for the way my body is built. Bada bing, bada boom. I can order them online. Don't have to try them on. You might hate them, but that's okay.
Right.
It's just important that our jeans feel good, right? Like, so,
yes.
And I think that's it. I think so much of this stuff, and hopefully people have taken some of the last year, which has been remarkably difficult, but hopefully a time of reflection as well, and kind of ruminated on what they learned through the process. So if you, what lessons, whether it's from thinking about how you support parents
Mhm.
and moms especially, or as a partner, or just as a human, as you've looked at the world as, you know, and a really intelligent human being, what sort of lessons have you taken from the last year that you think are critical moving forward?
Absolutely. You know, I think this is such an important question because I think for overscheduled families, which let's be honest, is the majority of families, right? Um, that the time that we got last year was a gift. I don't love how we got all the time at home with our families. I don't love how we got there, but I love that we got there. And I think what it really helped us do is push a reset button for priorities in families. You know, what activities were truly essential? That word kind of became a buzzword last year, right? And I think
Mhm.
it gave us the opportunity as a family to figure out what was essential, what we like, and what we're going to put back in as the world opened back up. And I think most of the parents that I know that I've worked with really took the opportunity to do that. That was like the silver lining in there because I was that parent. I mean, all three of my kids played sports, all three of my kids did an instrument, all three of my kids did some sort of personal development something. My boys did Boy Scouts, my daughter did a girls development program. And so, you know, the fall for us was football, soccer. I mean, I spent thousands of hours in bleachers going from one football practice to another to then soccer to, you know, orange slices. And I mean, our Saturdays were just not ours. They were not ours. And not that that's bad. I mean, I probably would make the same decision if I had to do it all over again, right? But having this moment just to be able to consciously think about, not that we're making the decision to do that because that's what everyone else is doing, but we're deciding as a parent what really was best for our family. I think that is one of the gifts that 2020 gave us, was the opportunity to hit pause and reset and sort of reprioritize what was important for our family. I think the other thing I would say that 2020 did, and I started last year, I put together this series of 5 little videos about how to help your kids face uncertainty. Because let's just be honest, last year was unprecedented in a lot of ways. You know, so yes, did I raise 3 kids? Yes, but did I ever raise 3 kids through a global pandemic? Well, no, I didn't. I was trying to help adult kids cope with changing of plans and having college freshman year cut short and having to move back home and having a 2 year what you thought would be a 2 year mission to Peru cut short, and then be in quarantine and lockdown and go through all these crazy things trying to get back to the United States when the world is shut down, not just a country. So I put together these 5 videos. It was a 5 video series about resilience and how to really figure out to give our kids the skills they need to deal with uncertainty with optimism, number one, with confidence, and with competence. And I felt like, you know, if I could get my kids through this time with those 3 things, right? Without this doom and gloom perspective, like let's find that let's be real and acknowledge the reality of the situation, but let's look for the gifts. Let's look for the silver linings. Let's treat this with optimism and see what we can pull from here. Let's be confident in our own ability to handle the uncertainty, because honestly, the uncertainty of last year, you know, we and our kids are going to continue to face uncertainties again in the future. Maybe not the same exact one, hopefully not the same exact one, but you know, uncertainty is a part of life, right? What is that? Something about the only certain thing is that things are going to change. And so being able to have the skills to face change and uncertainty with confidence that I have a team around me, I have support, I can handle this, I have skills, which leads me into the competence part. How do we make sure that our kids are really equipped with the tools they need to handle this? And just one example, right? How do we teach our kids to get their information from good sources? How do we give our kids the skills they need to have critical thinking, to apply it to what they're hearing and what they're seeing and all the varying information that was coming in on a daily basis? How do we make sense of it? How do we have this, develop those skills in our kids? And so that was one of the things I did last year, which I turned in to a 90-minute webinar that's actually available for purchase. And what I called it was the 2020 version of the Rockstar Parent Guide. So, just, and it's just focused on helping kids develop, giving parents the skills they need to help their kids develop this resilience, this being able to look at whatever happens in the world in a realistic way, but tackle it with that optimism, confidence, and competence. So I think, I think that 2020 was a great opportunity for us as parents and as people, really, to have a moment to reimagine where we're headed and really make some significant changes in our lives if they were needed. But gave us the opportunity to do that.
Yeah, I think that's really profound. And I think it's, resiliency is so important. And I read a book, it's sitting over here. I don't know if you've read it yet. It's by Dr. Lori Gottlieb. Maybe You Should Talk to Someone. It's wonderful if you haven't read it. But something in the book she says that I never really put together is that, and I know that pain is a part of life. It's a great teacher, and it makes us value what we have, and I understand that. But there's a line in the book where it says, "Pain is inevitable. Suffering is a choice."
Correct.
And I never knew. Like, I was like, "What?" And I didn't realize that I was allowing situations at times in my life to control me instead of me taking control of the situation. And I think a lot of what you're saying is giving adults the skills so they can give them to their children. That same, I can't promise you that everything will always be perfect.
Right.
But I can promise you, I will teach you how you can get through it, learn from it, and be better on the other side.
I just had this conversation with my daughter a few days ago. It's this concept of pain with a purpose. That's the phrase, right? And we were talking, I was relaying to her that when I was pregnant with my oldest, we took the birthing class, right? And the nurse that taught our class introduced this concept to me that every contraction you have, right, gets you one step closer to holding your baby. And I remember thinking, I can work with that. I can wrap my head around that, and it makes sense to me. And I can accept it, right? I can accept that this is going to be a painful process, but that the purpose of the pain is to get a baby at the end. And so we were talking about that in context of 2020 and the things she's facing in her life right now. And it's like, yes. And not only are uncertain things going to happen, right? Unexpected, sometimes tragic things are going to happen in your life, but you can handle it. And you're not alone, right? We're a team. And I think that's one of the things about that vision statement, that you create this team mentality in your family, where we tackle things. It's not you against me, it's us against an issue. And that you're just not alone as you walk through these things.
Well, I think I have kept people too long from visiting rockstarparent.com, which clearly, despite your business coach's desires, you have filled it with opportunities that are both affordable and sometimes even free. And it's a sense of community and an opportunity to feel grounded and connected and take control of things. But before we go, I think it's really important to share that on this very important day, which also is Women's History Month, and we are officially celebrating the Dr. Lee Burge, Rockstar Mama, rockstarparent.com. Today, on March 31st, it is also your birthday. So make sure you give my sister the proper birthday gift and check out all her great work.
Thank you.
Because, you know, she comes from a really honest space. I've had the privilege of, you know, you've been very open and shared, you know, about your family and all these wonderful things and challenges, and how you all have everything you approach with positivity. And I think that that's really important. And maybe it's because you begin, as you said, with the end in mind, and you focus on the goal and not getting consumed with the extra.
Yeah.
But before we go, what's your favorite birthday treat? Because I love a treat.
Ooh, I am just growing up in Florida. I'm just a fan of key lime pie.
Respect.
I mean, I just, you know, you can take the girl out of Florida, but you can't take Florida out of the girl. So I would have to, that's
Well,
probably my go-to if I ever get my choice. Yeah. Yeah.
nice. Well, there you go. And fun fact, the number one, like the national pie winner for key lime pie is in Clearwater, Florida. So
It's now on my list for my next trip home.
I'll give you the link. All right. Well, everybody, rockstarparent.com. Visit, engage, connect. I promise you, the one thing I know for sure is that Dr. Burge, Lee, will never make you feel like you're stupid or should have known.
Mhm.
It's more like a sister helping and saying, listen, let me tell you about something from the future. And that, I think, is what stops people, is the fear that
Yeah.
they're supposed to
You're
know.
supposed to know it already.
And the thing is, we should, you know, you've put your hand out and said, I'm willing to share, and people should take it. So rockstarparent.com, happiest of birthdays.
Thank you.
May all the key lime pies appear in your life.
Thank you.
And until then, let's all go celebrate, take care of ourselves, and visit rockstarparent.com.
Thank you.